welcome back to the channel, and today we are making an authentic Jamaican brown chicken, brown stewed chicken. This is absolutely phenomenal. I almost feel like I ought to say wagwan wagwan, the what's going on comment that's so common in Jamaica. Deb and I have probably been there 8 or 10 times. Heck, our son even went to high school in Jamaica. We love it down there, and when we were talking to the grandkids about where they want to go on vacation, the little one said she'd really like to go to Jamaica. She's heard us talk a lot about it. So this is going to be really fun to do. It's inspiring us for some of these flavors, and we'll show you all the steps. Pretty easy to do. It takes about an hour or so, but it's not a hard thing to do, and you don't have to marinate this very long, so there's not a lot of prep ahead of time. Let me kind of talk about what the ingredients are, and then we'll zoom in and we'll show you everything we're going to do. We are using chicken thighs. Now, traditionally, you can use any pieces. Typically, you want the skins on. A very common one is legs and thighs with the skin on. We're going to be doing them with skin off for the most part, but I will put a couple in with the skins on just so you can see how that works as well. Now, for our vegetables and what we're going to put in our marinade that we put on top of the chicken and then end up stewing into this brown stew, some tomatoes, garlic, onion, and a little bit of pepper. You can use bell pepper. Any kind of sweet pepper would be fine. Not uncommon to take a few little snips of Scotch bonnet if you were having this down in Jamaica. Really spicy pepper. We're going to leave that out because the family does not like the spice at that level. And then we're going to talk about all the seasonings we're going to put on our chicken. We're going to be using a little bit of adobo sauce. We have some onion powder, garlic powder, a little bit of paprika. Because I'm not using the Scotch bonnet, I'm going to use a little bit of this peppered habanero mix. Just going to give it a little bit of spice. And we're using here ground allspice called pimento seeds in Jamaica. And then certainly some fresh thyme. One of the other items that's optional, but I really do like this. You'll notice that when you have something down in Jamaica, it'll be called brown something. Oftentimes it's with a browning sauce. You can make your own browning sauce by just taking a couple of tablespoons of brown sugar and putting in some oil and just darkening it up. Same thing, there's high sugar content in this that does that browning. Another common item in Jamaica is they put ketchup in it. I'm not going to put ketchup in it. We have our tomatoes. We'll get our dark color from that browning sauce, and as we simmer this down, it's going to have this amazing rich flavor, so not needed with the ketchup. All right, let me show you how we prep all this. Okay, we're going to start with putting our chicken thighs in. Now, I went ahead and bought these with the skin on them. I flipped them over, pulled the skin off, and then I put 2 slits right down each side of the bone. It just makes them lay a little flatter when we're browning them in a pan. You'll see what I mean here in just a minute. It helps cook them nice and even all the way through. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do 3 chicken thighs with the skin off, and I'm going to do 1 with it on just so you can see it. That's all. Now, let's go ahead and get this seasoned up. Before we put our vegetables in here, I love this adobo seasoning. I think it's phenomenal for anything Caribbean. Certainly this would fit in that category. So we're going to do a little bit of that, probably about a teaspoon or so. We'll do a little bit of onion powder, probably about a teaspoon. We're going to do a little bit of smoked paprika, again, about a half teaspoon of this. We're going to do little bit of the garlic powder just to help get it on that flavor, but we are going to have fresh garlic in it as well. We're going to put a little bit of this peppered habanero in here, just again for a little bit of the heat, and our black pepper. Probably about a teaspoon of that. If you were using Scotch bonnet, I would probably use about a 1/4 or a 1/5 of the pepper itself, not the seeds. That's what I would do. And then we're going to do a little bit of ground allspice, or if you have pimento seeds, just throw the whole pimento seed in there. All right, we've got our vegetables prepped up here a little bit. I just went ahead and peeled the onion, cleaned out the inside of my pepper. I went ahead and pulled the skins off the end of about 5 or 6 garlic cloves, fresh cloves, and we have our onions ready there. So what I want to do is I want to cut these up into some chunks. I actually don't want these to be minced. You know, I want them to sort of stew down in this over the next hour or so and have a little bit of a bite, and frankly be big enough that if the kids want to pick them out, they certainly can. So we're going to take this nice chunks of these, just drop them right on in there. We'll do the same with our other one. Now I'm using 1 medium onion is probably all I have in here. I think that's plenty. All right, put that one in there. Do the same now with our pepper. Now, the way you do this pepper is really up to you, but I like to cut these this way and then just stack them up and cut them in little strips. And cut them into little squares about the same size as the onions. These will get nice and soft. Be a wonderful bite in there. And then If you like the end of the pepper, the bottom of it, I suggest using it as well. It's good, great flavor. All right, so we've got our pepper in there. And again, you want to use some kind of sweet pepper. Bell peppers are usually what I use. You could even use, you know, some of the poblano peppers or something traditionally in Mexican food. Would be just fine as well. Now, we're going to cut up a couple of these tomatoes. And I've used Roma tomatoes just because it's what they happen to have at the store here. Ideally, you want to use just a regular sandwich tomato, beefsteak tomatoes, typically what they're called. And I don't want a whole lot of these in here. I'm going to, again, cut these up probably a slightly larger size than the onions are. But these have a nice flavor. It gives a richness to the brown sauce as we make this up. I think I'm going to do 2 of these. Missed that one altogether. All right, got our tomatoes in there. Now we just want to chop up our garlic. And then the last thing, rough chop is fine on this, by the way. With the amount of time we're going to cook this, it's going to stew right down into the sauce that gets made at the end of this. Should have brought my chef's knife. It would have been a little easier to do that, but I didn't. All right. Take our whole cutting board here. Easier to get these off of there. Put them right in. Last thing we want to do is get a little bit of fresh thyme. If you don't have fresh, it's fine to go ahead and use powdered thyme, but this just makes it that much better. Now, I like to use a pair of scissors typically, and I cut these up into sort of bite-sized pieces. I find it a little bit easier to work them around in the dish. You don't end up with these huge stalks that you pull out, and these little bites, if you bite something this small, still is amazing flavor, even if it gets directly into your mouth, as opposed to a whole stalk, for example. All right, and we just put about 5 or 6 little sprigs is what we put in there. Right. We're going to put just a little bit of oil on here. It helps just get this mixed up. And then we're going to go ahead and put in about 2 tablespoons of this browning mix, which is Grace browning. That's all it is. That helps with the nice, dark, rich color. You just have to be cautious. If you put too much of it in the pan in the very beginning, it will absolutely burn because remember, it has a lot of sugar on it. Just take a look at that color. That's exactly what we want. Now, best thing to do is just cover this with some saran wrap and put it in the fridge. You can put it in the fridge anywhere from 10 or 15 minutes to overnight. But I usually just mix this up, and then as I'm preparing everything to cook it, it probably sits for about 30 minutes before I actually put it onto the stove. Right. With this all mixed up, let's go ahead and show you what we do to prep the actual pot. We'll heat up the pot, get everything ready to go, and then we'll get this on. Probably be sitting here for about 30 minutes before it hits the oil. Now, when down in Jamaica, a lot of times they're cooking this right on top of actual fresh wood. A lot of times they'll have a pot similar to this sitting on top of, let's say, an old car rim, and they're putting the wood down underneath the pot with a couple of pieces of metal rod holding the pot up. Very primitive sort of looking, and it's amazing how good the food is that way. But we have the luxury of using our gas grill. That's exactly what we're going to do with this. If I thought that this got a lot of that flavor imparted from that smoke, I would probably do it, or I would do it over the pellet stove. But the reality is we're going to keep this partially covered for a good portion of the time, so I don't think it gets that much flavor from the actual wood. All right, we got this turned on. Go ahead and take the lid off, and we're just going to add in a little bit of oil here so we can get that chicken nice and brown. I'm probably putting about 1/4 cup or so of oil in here. You can use just any kind of canola oil. You could use olive oil if you wanted. You can use peanut oil. Doesn't really matter. All right, so our oil's been on for about 3 minutes. It's good and hot. Now we're gonna go ahead and put our chicken in. And one of the things you wanna do is you don't wanna put the vegetables in yet. We really just wanna do the chicken. We're trying to brown the meat rather than saute the vegetables. We'll have plenty of time for that in a bit. And then we're gonna put this right in. Hey baby, you gonna come help? You wanna watch? So we're gonna take our first piece and we're just gonna put it right down in here. Now when you do this with the skin on pieces, we wanna start with the skin down. Again, we're getting most of the vegetables right off of there. You want to definitely go in a single layer here. I like to move them around a little bit so that they don't start to stick right away. A little oil underneath them. And then we're just going to let those crisp up. Nice brown side on it there. And the nice thing is all we're doing is browning these up. We don't have to cook these all the way through yet because we are going to stew these for a while. One of the things I like best about this kind of cooking is enjoying a nice cup of coffee while I'm doing it, or, you know, if it's late in the day, a nice little Jamaican rum drink. just want to keep checking these. They're going to get nice and brown. Again, that browning sauce really helps do that because it is a sugar-based sauce. Now, here's what's cool. If you don't want to use a browning sauce, all you have to do is take that oil in the very beginning that I did, put a couple of tablespoons of brown sugar in it, mix it up until it's just the color you want, and then add your chicken to it. That'll also give an amazing browning to the sauce that we'll make later as well. So these have been on for about 3 or 4 minutes. I'm going to let them go for 2 or 3 more. I'll zoom in here, we'll flip them over, we'll do the same on the other side, and then we'll begin to prep our actual sauce, and we'll simmer this for about an hour until this is just wonderful. So this is the one that has the skin on it. Remember, we want to do that one first with the skin down. Look at that amazing color on there. Same thing here. I'm going to flip every one of these. Oh, it's exactly what we're wanting to see right there. It's an amazing brownness to it. Now we're going to do the same here, about 3 minutes on this side. And this is the reason when I prep these, I cut along that bone because they will sit flatter and get done a little quicker in there. All right, these guys have been on for about another 5 minutes or so. I'm going to go ahead and just take these off, kind of show you what they look like. They are just phenomenal looking. This is the one with the skin on it. Just take a look at each one of these. They look wonderful. We'll put that guy right on there. You can see the one with the skin on it. Just look at that. That looks amazing. We have enough oil in here. We just want to go ahead and mix that oil around a little bit, and then we're going to saute our vegetables right in this as well. We're just going to saute that. We want to mix this around in that browning seasoning. Let these saute. Some of the moisture from this will come out, but we're going to have some nice boiling water on hand in the event we need to add any to this. You can already see there's a little bit more liquid in here because there's some moisture coming out of these vegetables, but you just want to keep moving them around. All of that wonderful flavor that we brown that chicken down on the bottom of the pot will start to mix into this, right? So we still have it's not completely clean there, so we'll just keep on mixing these around. And if we think we need to add just a little bit of water, go right ahead. Again, take a hot kettle and make sure it's going in there hot. You see I'm scraping this along the bottom. I'm trying to get all that flavor up off of that pot. We're just going to go back in with our chicken, put that right back in here. There's the one with our skin on it. That guy in there.
Over here. Yeah, right here. Hey, do me a favor. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more like it, subscribe to the channel and click on that little bell notification so you get notified of new videos. Thanks.
Look at these things. Man, oh man, does that look good. Just dump all that juice from the plate back in there. We want that chicken flavor in it. We want to do this along the sides. That is plenty. We can always just cook it with the top open when we need to. But we're going to cook this now for probably about 20 minutes to 60 minutes. Just depends until the chicken is completely done and that sauce is rich and thinned down a little bit. All right, it already smells good. We'll be back here in about 20 or 30 minutes. Now I'm sealing this up all the way. I want all that moisture that's coming out of the vegetables and out of the chicken to stay in this pan. That's going to help make this really, really rich brown gravy flavor that's part of that. If you're doing this dish, you definitely want to have some rice on hand. We always just cook it in our rice cooker. We almost always have hot rice on the counter. We tend to eat it a lot of it. So we'll be using that as we prepare this in a little bit. But wanted to bring that up because it's something you likely want to do ahead of time. All right, this has been on now for about 45 minutes to an hour, and oh my gosh, I flipped it over once. But this sauce, let me zoom in and show you this. Just take a look at that nice, rich brown sauce. That's exactly what we want to see. Might add just a little tiny bit more of water to this, and then we'll serve this over some rice and give it a shot. This looks absolutely amazing. Let's go ahead and serve it up, give you a view, and we'll certainly take a test. I like to pour a little bit of that sauce right on top of my rice, and then I'm going to put the chicken right over the top of it. Oh, man, does that look good. All right, the little one's out here with me because every time I'd open the pot, she would stand out there and say, oh my gosh, that smells so good. So we've been talking about going to Jamaica. This is kind of what they have. It smells good? Yeah.
I want to eat it now.
You want to eat it now, huh?
Without the vegetables on it, though.
You want me to scrape the vegetable? What do you mean you?
That vegetable.
You don't?
Vegetable.
Okay, you want one with the skin on or off?
Off.
Off? Okay, I'll do this one. All right, let's just get a nice little cut. Your choice. You can have whatever one you want. You can have one of each. I'm going to have one of... Yeah, I'm going to take whatever bite you have, too.
Okay. I'll take one of each, then.
All right, well, let's start with this one. Here, ready? I'm going to get you some of the sauce, too.
There's rice on it.
Yeah, it's got rice, too. Ready? Is it hot?
It's hot.
It's hot? I'm sorry. I should have checked to see how hot, huh?
But it's good.
It's good?
Uh-huh.
You like the flavor? Is it too spicy or no?
I love the flavor.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
It's delicious. Y'all should make this.
They should. It's for fun.
Oh, and good taste.
Is it? Do you like that? Which one do you like better, with the skin or without the skin?
With the skin.
Yeah?
Skin gives it a chewy texture.
That's good, because I'll tell you, that's the way they do it in Jamaica. You don't... All right, let's say goodbye to everybody. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Safe and happy grilling.
Really, you should do this. It's delicious.
Get some on your shirt.